Jack Ebling here with Lindsay Huddleston at Breslin Center. It's another Press Pass preview. Michigan State, second big win this week. 87-69 over Michigan. 20-point win Thursday over Illinois. 18-point win today. And Michigan State starting to play like the team people thought it could when it was number one preseason.
True. I posed a question we talked about during football season. Are all wins the same, Jack?
No, don't give me that they all count one stuff. No way. But this was win number 30 for Tom Izzo over Michigan.
Wow.
And I pointed that out to him, and he said, that's not enough.
It's not enough.
No.
Well, when we talked about his 4-game winning streak, he made a good point that it's easy to be on either side of that equation. But I think that 30-game stat was noteworthy, and it's still more games to be played and more work to be done.
Yeah. And I have seen every Michigan State game since 1969.
Wow.
So it was actually be the winner of 1970, covering 51 seasons, and this was the second best performance against the Wolverines that I have seen. The best was Scott Skiles putting up 40 against the Big Ten champions. But the ball seemed like a yo-yo in Cassius's hands. He actually accounted for 50 points, 32 by himself and 18 with assists.
My goodness. You wonder with the cloud or the idea of what's been happening with the Winston family, when he shows you type of things like this, does it almost speak to him having a different level of play he can go to, that he can have all these personal things going on off the court, but come and give this kind of showing?
Yeah, and you never know from day to day how he's going to be reacting, but he said that the reaction of the crowd here at home lifts him up, and the reaction in here today I thought was pretty electric environment.
Electric was an excellent way to describe it. It was so loud I almost wanted to take out my phone and just record the sound. Because it can't be manufactured. People knew this was a big game, but to see Cassius play the way he played, I think just put people even more on edge in a good way to support the Spartans today.
Got really loud when Juwan Howard came out as a sixth Wolverine player, but they wouldn't let him play. Instead, they gave him a technical foul, and then Tom Izzo got one a little bit later. Balance that out. But I want to give a shout out to Brandon Johns.
Yes.
From East Lansing.
Local
kid.
It's
going to take a lot of gas. You knew that coming back here starting in place of Isaiah Livers. But he had 12 points, and he acquitted himself reasonably well.
Yeah, you could see a little nervous energy, especially when those guys get those early travel calls and moving a little bit too fast. Adrenaline's pumping, but I think it's great that he can be able to work his way and basically play in his own backyard. I mean, he played a stone's throw away over at East Lansing High School, so for him to come and get on the floor and have a good showing, I think is a good thing for him and the future of the Michigan program in that regard.
And Xavier Tillman was terrific in a lot of ways. Again, 20 points, 11 rebounds, 6 block shots. That's 10 block shots this week for a guy who's a little bit more than 6'8".
Yeah, that's a real block party. Coach Izzo talked about Xavier coming to the gym 2 hours prior to shoot around to work on free throws and things like that. So he's constantly working on things to evolve his game, and we're seeing the benefit of it right now.
Absolutely. And a lot of guys did some things. Rocket Watts came off, hit some shots late. A couple of threes. I think that has to be encouraging.
Absolutely.
And other guys did just enough. They only got 5 minutes out of Aaron Henry in the first half. But a play that everyone would have remembered forever was a missed dunk
by Gabe Brown.
Would have been number one on the Sports Center list.
Oh, definitely.
Maybe behind Kirk Cousins' pass for Minnesota today. But
Ooh,
would have been right up there near the top. Almost hit his head on the rim. He was about 3 inches short of doing that.
When I talked to him after that, and I also talked to him after the Illinois game, this huge rebound he went up for, he doesn't really know how high he's getting, but the idea is that he needs just to keep playing like that. And I think when he does that, it only excites his team members and it gives them a chance to go next level, and that's going to be needed again through this Big Ten schedule.
His teammates were giving him gas in the locker room, saying that meant nothing. He missed it, counted for 0 points, so they were not letting him get away.
Maybe that's a different generational way of being tongue-in-cheek, you know, but you only want to encourage these guys and see them playing beyond what they were to be able to play like that.
Gabe did say he's the only one in the building who could have guarded Cassius Winston. And his teammates laughed at that.
Yeah, I bet. I don't think anybody could have guarded Cassius Winston with the play he had today.
Not today. This was one of those days, and I said to X, when's the last time you saw number 5 play like this? He said, man, I haven't seen him like since since last year against Michigan.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I did ask him, does this game, being a rivalry game, remind him of being at home or at Tyndall Recreational Center in Detroit where him and his family grew up playing basketball and kind of visualizing a big game? He said it absolutely took him back to childhood, that these are the games you want to play. And I did ask, is this close to like a national championship? He said, no way, not at all, but it was a great time.
No. And he said, hey, we got to play these guys again. So they're not getting fat and sassy because of this. And they got Minnesota rolling in here Thursday, trying to get a big upset.
Yep, strong Patino coach team. They're always going to come. I mean, I think the reality is that Big Ten play in basketball, there's parity across the board. And you can't, thumb your nose up at any team. And Coach Izzo even said, though this was close to a 20-point win, he would call it a 10-point win because it wasn't really indicative of how hard Michigan played.
Yeah, it just never seemed like it was going to explode, and then there was that one run, but Michigan got a basket from Teskey down low, and that stopped it, just when the crowd was ready to go crazy.
I mean, has Michigan really become a big man's program right now? You talk about the way the bigs are playing. You talk about Coach Juwan Howard being a player development guy, particularly for bigs. It seems like the bigs were really the cornerstone of this offense today.
Well, they're so much bigger than Michigan State. I mean, there was a time when it was 15 guarding 15, and there's a big difference between John Teskey and Thomas Kithier.
Absolutely.
It's about 6 inches.
That's a whole lot to give away. And like you said, this is probably the biggest team that Michigan State will play in the Big Ten, that is.
And Illinois was really big when Kofi Coburn and Georgi Bahanishvili. But this team was very big. And even when Teskey went out and they brought in Austin Davis or Colin Castleton, and they had other guys who were definitely taller than Tillman, but Tillman had his way inside too.
Yeah, he sure did have a great game. And you look at the play. I mean, is this the kind of play that is really a preseason #1 team minus a Josh Langford? When you see everyone contributing, things being spread across, the board like that, is this the kind of play that they were talking about for a #1 ranked team early on in the season?
Getting closer to it. But hey, they missed 9 free throws. Tom will find 12 things they did wrong. And they didn't play good post defense in the first half. They let Michigan get too many easy baskets, established position too deep. Wasn't really fighting. You let a guy catch it 6 feet from a basket and he's 4 inches taller than you are, he's going to score.
Yeah, absolutely. And those bigs seem really fundamentally sound when you compare Illinois' bigs to Michigan's bigs just a few days later. You see them making really sound plays. That's telling me as this team goes and grows, you have to look out for them, especially when the Spartans go down to Ann Arbor with the regular part of the season to face them again.
Well, you would think Isaiah Livers will be back long before that, but the guy who really has to play better for Michigan to beat Michigan State is Brooks. He had 2 points today, and Eli Brooks has got to score in double figures for them.
The one thing I noticed about this Michigan team is that they didn't really have any strong offensive firepower when you talk about anything that's free throw line extended, 3-point shooting. They just don't really seem to have that right now. And the question is, will they develop that? And that's going to be an essential part of them being successful, I think.
Well, I don't know what happened to the team that started 7-0. And I thought about ranking #1. I actually ranked him #2 in a poll after that an 18-point win over Gonzaga. #1 team in the country now. The only time that Gonzaga has lost. But that Michigan team has disappeared.
It disappeared. They may be a shadow of themselves. It's a good thing to go back to that moment, and they can draw upon that from a confidence standpoint. But as they get through this Big Ten play, maybe it's an opportunity for it to resurface again, and we just don't know.
And this was a game where I thought Xavier with a Z, Simpson, would come out and say, I didn't like getting my pants pulled down 3 times from Cassius last year. I'm going to show what I can do. And, he had some points, but he was abused a lot on defense too, and took some shots. He was 6 for 18, 33%. Shooting percentages for Michigan were poor, 21.7 from deep. This is the second game that Michigan State has completely shut down an opponent beyond the arc. Michigan State, meanwhile, nearly 53% from the field, more than 46%. So they were 25% better. 46% to 21% beyond the arc.
Wow, that's a lot. Well, as we look at time, there's another better thing we can look forward to as well.
Looking forward to Press Pass tonight. We have an interesting panel, Lindsay. We have Tom Crawford on. He's going to break down all of Michigan's touchdowns in the Citrus Bowl.
A quick segment?
Yeah, it'll be a short segment. And not a real good week for Tom, actually, when you think about this, too. And Tom Brady. Not his best week. But we're also going to have Larry Lage And we're going to have Brendan Quinn from The Athletic.
Oh.
Two guys live in Ann Arbor. We can't normally get them.
Sure.
But since it's a Sunday game,
Sure.
they're going to stick around
It worked out.
and join us for that taping. And you'll see that tonight at 11 o'clock on Fox 47.
That'd be great.
For Lindsay Huddleston, Jack Ebling saying, have a great week, everyone.